Amyloid plaques are one of the central findings in Alzheimer's disease pathology. And we know that the plaque is the end product of a process going from a monomer, one molecule of amyloid, to an oligomer, which are multiple molecules of amyloid joined together, to the plaque, which is the final insoluble form of the amyloid protein. So different amyloid drugs target the different species of amyloid along this continuum. So we have drugs such as BACE inhibitors that reduce the production of the monomer. And for example, L-basistat is one drug that is currently in a clinical trial for the treatment of Alzheimer's disease, and it acts by reducing the monomer. There are drugs that address the oligomer. So BAN2401 is a monoclonal antibody that addresses the oligomerized form of A-beta. There's gantenerumab, which addresses the insoluble form of amyloid and may address some of the soluble forms as well, some of the oligomers. So there are drugs addressing the amyloid continuum from the monomer to the plaque. Now, we've had many disappointments with anti-amyloid therapy, but there is in each case a concern that we were too late in the process, that we underdosed the patients, or that there were aspects of the trial which allowed us to miss seeing the drug placebo difference. So each trial, although a negative outcome has occurred, has taught us something about how to do better trials. And we still believe that the amyloid target is worthy, though we think there should be an increase in the repertoire of targets that we're testing, and many different kinds of mechanisms should be tested to find optimal treatments for Alzheimer's disease. There's a great need for both cognitive enhancing agents on one side and disease modifying agents on the other. Disease-modifying agents intend to slow the progression of the disease, and cognitive-enhancing agents intend to improve patients who are already cognitively impaired to a higher level of cognitive function. We're seeing progress in both of these domains. So on the disease-modifying side, we have BACE inhibitors that we're testing, like L-basistat. We have monoclonal antibodies like gantenerumab and BAN2401. On the cognitive enhancing side, one of the agents that we've seen make progress lately is GV971, a drug that has been developed in China and in a report recently was shown to improve patients' cognitive function above baseline. So we feel that there is progress being made in both modification of the disease course and drugs that potentially could improve cognition. When I think about the drugs in the pipeline, the monoclonal antibody BAN2401 is particularly interesting, I think, because it used a novel trial design with a Bayesian dose adaptive design. I like that because it's very patient-centric. It allows patients to be assigned to the dose that is most likely to succeed. If I were in a clinical trial, that's the dose that I would want. And then there was innovation in terms of the outcome. So the ADCOMS, the Alzheimer's disease composite score, was used to determine whether the drug was successful or not in creating a drug placebo difference. And that's a sensitive measure, and I think represents progress in developing tools that are appropriate to the population being included in the trial. There was also a change in several of the spinal fluid biomarkers in that trial, as well as a reduction in amyloid and a reduction in the rate of decline on the clinical measures. So I thought that was a good repertoire of innovation and observation that now allows that drug to be progressed into phase 3. So I'm keeping an eye on BAN2401. GV971 is a drug that was developed in China. in preliminary studies and in a phase 3 study in China, it improved patients' cognitive function above baseline. And we have seen very few compounds that will do that. So again, that compound is under review in China. It could be available to part of the world. And if a global trial is pursued and succeeds, then of course it could be a new drug as a cognitive enhancing agent for the treatment of Alzheimer's disease. So these are two compounds that I find of interest, but there are so many interesting drugs in the pipeline that people should have optimism that we're going to find something for our patients.